I've been thinking a lot about this article I read recently that talked about how entry level jobs are going away because of AI. And I'll link the article in the comments so you can look at it. While I'm not ready to say that the premise isn't accurate, this article didn't prove its case at all. First, it used jobs data to show that companies are hiring fewer entry level roles. It says, well, that's because of AI, and it looks at particular industries that it thinks are greatly impacted by AI, but doesn't actually show that. It ignores overall hiring practices, and it ignores, you know, just general industry trends. For example, it talks about how software industries have hired fewer entry level people. Well, yeah, they've been letting go of a lot of people. Why would they be hiring more people? And that's not necessarily because of AI. It could be because they overhired, like in a case like Google, or any number of reasons. Another thing the article talked about was how companies move too fast with AI and how they stopped hiring and stopped replacing people, and now they're regretting it. Again, this could be accurate, but it's a fairly big jump that they made without any real substantiation. They just kind of said, oh, this is probably why they're regretting it. This has to be it. So, in the end, the article does nothing that proves their point one way or another. But it is a good example of assumptions and the role assumptions play in everything. Just like the assumptions of the article are believable, even if they're weak, the assumptions that companies are making about AI are weak, even if they're believable. What you'll see is people have heard the hype about AI and they're just jumping at it. It's been scary. People have been scaring people. If you don't get on board with AI now, you're going to fall so far behind. You're going to fail. You're going to struggle. The fact of the matter is, panic rarely works out, and it's usually a bad sign for an organization. And that's the key lesson from this. This isn't new or unusual. Companies for decades have been jumping at hype without thinking and then paying the price, along with reaching a lot of bad conclusions about why they paid the price. I've been in learning development for over 30 years. In fact, when I started, computer-based training and web-based training really hadn't even been created yet. It had been talked about, played with, but it really wasn't anything that any organizations will use. Everything was still instructor-led. And I was around for the beginning of that. And I will tell you that at that time in the learning industry, there was all the hype. Oh, everything's got to go online. And the instructors who did instructor led, their career is pretty much over. And there was all this hype and money was being tossed into these companies that were going to build computer based training. And guess what? We have computer based training, but it never took off the way it did. And those companies that said, hey, we're going to get rid of all our trainers, we're going to do everything online. Guess what? They have bad development plans and they struggled and they made huge mistakes and they probably regretted it and it hurt their business. I'm working with a client now who has all the capabilities to do everything online. It still does a good portion of instructor led, not because online doesn't work, but because online doesn't work for them, for their culture. So here are the lessons I want managers to take away. First one is AI is a tool. It can be a valuable tool. It will probably be a very influential tool, but it is a tool. You do not buy a tool and then start using it for every home improvement project. I don't go to Home Depot, buy a screwdriver, and then go, everything's a screwdriver and start screwing everything. What you do is you figure out what business problem you have, what thing you can solve, and then how and if this tool will work with it. Using that screwdriver example again, it's like I'm building a bookcase. Hey, there's some places where screws need to be, this screwdriver will come in handy. I don't go, I just use a screwdriver for everything. I know this is a nail and needs a hammer, but screwdriver will work. Just not it. Second thing, your leadership knows as little or less about AI than you do. And that's not to criticize them. This is a new thing, and it's been portrayed poorly in the industry and in the press. When they start to talk about it, don't just listen. Don't just kind of go, yeah, we got to do this. Ask questions, challenge them until you actually learn about AI in that mindset of it's a tool that can help me. They're going to use it the wrong way. MIT came out with a study that said 95% of projects that have been using AI have been showing no return. People are just jumping without looking. It isn't that AI isn't valuable. It's just that they were just jumping without looking and they weren't thinking, how do I use this tool to solve my business problem? They were going, use AI, use AI, use AI. It's all right. Third thing, have a plan. I'm not saying move slowly because that's not the way the world works anymore. But do move slowly when the impact could be severe or is hard to claw back. If your company starts to think, hey, we can just start letting people go because AI will do their job, push back hard. Push back hard and go, how? Let's demonstrate it first. Let's figure this out before we start doing that. One, because that's going to have a huge impact on the company. Two, it's going to have a huge impact on those individuals. That isn't something you can claw back easily. I realize some companies think people are replaceable, but it's hard to do, and you get yourself in a bad spot. So, using AI and letting people go, it may be a step at some point down the road, but it's one of the last steps, not the first step. Last, take it upon yourself to learn AI. Learn what it can do and what it can't do. Practice with it, experiment with it, research it. You don't have to learn how to code. You don't have to build large language models. You don't have to do all this stuff, but you want to be well versed in what it does. Then, when you're learning, teach your manager, teach the executives, teach your team. Take this as your opportunity to help them grow as you grow. 90% of the orgs are going to mess this up. We're seeing it already, and we're going to see it again. That's just the way they do things. But if you can help your org avoid major issues, avoid those major mistakes, you're going to be rewarded for it in raises, promotions, bonuses, all those things, prestige. Plus, you'll help the organization and you'll help your team. In the end, remember that AI is a tool and figure out how you can use that tool to solve your most pressing big business problems. Not how can I use AI? That is not the question at all. The question you need to ask yourself and you need to be pushing to your leaders and your team is, what is our biggest business problem? And can AI help us? And if so, how?